Happy day, beautiful people. Alicia, shalom, shalom. All right, beautiful people. Happy Monday, happy Monday. It is February the 14th, 2020. Day number 31 of year 4. I'm reading through the books of the... No, did I say 2020? I said 2022. Did I say 2020? Well, it is February the 14th, 2022. Day number 31 of year 4, reading through the books of the law and the prophets and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1049. Today we are reading the last chapter in the Lost Book of Enki, that is tablet 14. And then we're going to pick up where we left off at in My Big Toe, chapter 21 on page 56. And we may actually finish that chapter because this last tablet is so short. Yeah, I'm almost sure we're going to finish it. We definitely going to keep to our hour mark today. Shayla, Betwabu, Audrey, Shalom, Mom, Shalom, Shalom. Tiffany, happy Monday. You missed the whole weekend? Yes, you got some catching up to do. Sis. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and do this Shema. Which is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, a call for a wholehearted commitment. These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear the Lord your God as long as you live. Yes.
Did you do a credit card authorization? No, we didn't.
Oh, shoot. For the truck. Oh, his email. Hold on, y'all. Pause real quick. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. Where's he? I can just call him over the phone, right? Yeah, hold on. Oh, y'all. Hold on. Ooh, man. I probably had to call him my other phone real quick. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. What'd you say? Hold on, y'all. Okay. I forgot to send that form back. Okay. Let me go back to where I was. All right. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Then the Lord your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give to you when he made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget the Lord who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear the Lord your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must only use his name. You must not worship any other gods of the neighboring nations, for the Lord your God who lives among you is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and he will wipe you from the face of the earth. You must not test the Lord your God as you did when you complained at Massa. You must diligently obey the commands of the Lord your God, all the laws and decrees he has given you. Do what is right and good in the Lord's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that the Lord swore to give to your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as the Lord said you would. Okay, y'all heard you getting it to them. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that the Lord our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand. The Lord did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land he had sworn to give to our ancestors. And the Lord our God commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear him, so that he can continue to bless us and preserve our lives as he has done to this day. But we will be counted as righteous when we obey all these commands the Lord our God has given us. All right, beautiful people. Let's go here. All right, y'all. Tablet 14. And the synopsis is Babli, which we know is Babylon. Babli, Marduk's chosen sinner, survives the calamity. Inky sees it as an omen of Marduk's inevitable supremacy. Enlil ponders the past, fate, and destiny, accepts Marduk's supremacy, retreats to faraway lands. The brothers bid a sentimental goodbye. Inky sees the past as a guide foretelling the future. He decides to commit all as a record for posterity. Colophon by the scribe Indubsar. Okay, and so here's a picture of Marduk, Babylonian depiction of a resplendent Marduk. Yahuwah is one. Spirit of Yah, fill us with your presence so that we glorify you in everything we do. Amen. Uncle Nathaniel, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all, the 14th tablet. And Babli, where Marduk's supremacy declared by the evil wind was spared. All the lands of the south of Babli, the evil wind devoured. The heart of the second region it also touched. When in the aftermath of the great calamity, Enlil and Inky to survey the havoc met, Inky to Enlil the sparing of Babli as a divine omen considered, that Marduk to supremacy has been destined, by the sparing of Babli is confirmed. So did Inky to Enlil say, the will of the creator of all it must have been, Enlil to Inky said. Then to him the dream, vision, and prophecy of Galzu Enlil revealed. If that by you was known, why did you use the weapons of terror, not prevent? Inky asked him. My brother, Enlil to Inky with a sorrowed voice said, enough seen was the reason. Whenever after your coming to earth the mission by an obstacle obstructed was, a way the way the obstruction to circumvent we have found. Of that, the fashioning of the earthlings the greatest solution. Also, the fountain of a myriad unwarranted twists and turns was. When you have the celestial cycles fathomed and the constellations assigned, who in them the hands of destiny could foresee? Who could have been our chosen fates and our unbending destiny distinguished? Who false omens proclaim, who true prophecies could pronounce. Therefore, to keep to myself the words of Galzu, I decided. Was he truly the creator of all's emissary? Was he my hallucination? Let whatever has happened, happen. So to myself I said. To his brother's words, Inky listened. His head up and down he nodded. The first region is desolate. The second region is in confusion. The third region is wounded. The place of the celestial chariots is no more. That is what has happened, Inky to Enlil said. If that was the will of the creator of all, that is what of our mission to earth remained. By the ambitions of Marduk was the seed sown. What the crop resulted is for him to reap. So did Enlil to his brother Inky say. Then he, the triumph of Marduk, accepted. Let the rank of 50 by me for Ninurta intended to Marduk instead be given. Let Marduk over the desolation in the region his supremacy declare. As for me and Ninurta, we will in his way no longer stand. To the lands beyond the oceans we will depart. What we had all had come for. What What we had all had come for. The mission to obtain for Nibiru goal we will complete. So did Enlil to Inky say. Dejection was in his words. Would different matters have been were the weapons of terror unused? Inky, his brother, challenged. Should we have the words of Galzu to Nibiru not return heeded? Enlil retorted. Should Earth mission been stopped when the Anunnaki mutinied? I did what I did. You did what you did. The past undone cannot become. Is not in that too a lesson? Inky asked them both. Is not what on earth happened, what on Nibiru had taken place mirrored? Is not in that tale of the past the outline of the future written? Will mankind, in our image created, our attainments and failures repeat? Enlil was silent. As he stood up to leave, Inky to him, his arm extended. Let us lock arms as brothers, as comrades who together challenges on an alien planet confronted. So did Inky to his brother say, and Enlil, grasping his brother's arm, hugged him as well. Shall we meet again on Earth or on Nibiru? Inky asked. Was Galzu right that we die if we to Nibiru go? Enlil responded. Then he turned and departed. Alone was Inky left, only by the thoughts of his heart he was accompanied. How it all began and how it thus far ended, he sat and pondered. Was it all destined, or was it fate by this, that, and that decision fashioned? If heaven and earth, by cycles within cycles regulated, what had happened will again occur. What had happened will again occur. Is the past the future? Will the earthlings, the Anunnaki, emulate? Will Earth relive Nibiru? Will he, the first to survive, the last to leave be? Besieged by thoughts, Inky, a decision made. All the events, decisions, starting with Nibiru to this day on Earth, to put in a record, a guide to future generations to become. Let posterity, at a time by destiny designated, the record read, the past remember, the future as prophecy understand. Let the future of the past the judge be. These are the words of Inky, firstborn of Anu of Nibiru. 14th tablet, the words of the Lord Inky, written from the mouth of the great Lord Inky, not one word missed, not one word added, by the master scribe in Dubsar, a man of Eridu, son of Udbar, by the Lord Inky, with long life I have been blessed. And that, my beautiful people, is the end of the 14th tablet and the end of the Lost Book of Enki. What comes next is actually the glossary. I was debating whether if I was going to read it or not, but I think now I think we understand what all of these words are just by reading through it. So I don't think I will unless y'all want to hear it. It's a few pages of all the different names of all the Anunnaki and Igigi and the names of the places and the things that they named. Creator of all, the universal cosmic God. That's the definition. And that's who we refer to as the God of all, right? Yeah. What y'all think? Y'all want to hear the glossary? Or y'all want to just move into my big toe? It really is just the names of everybody, giving you the description of who they were. It's up to y'all. I mean, we read through it while we was reading it. But if y'all actually want to hear it from A to Z, I'll read it to y'all. First answer wins it. No. Okay. All right. Because if you were here, when the name or the thing was first presented, it always gives you what the definition of who they were. So it would literally be reading through it all a second time. Okay. All right. So my big toe. Look. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Right. So what is Marduk's reign called? Right. The constellation. What is his reign called? Like, which animal is his? I just thought this was pretty cool. Anybody remember the animal from the constellation? Shayla, yes and no for me as well. Yeah, I figured I'd ask. I didn't want to, if somebody really wanted to hear it, I didn't want to cheat y'all just in case they didn't have the book. But if you were here the whole time, you would have heard all of them anyway. Anybody remember what Marduk's animal was in the constellation? If y'all forgot, think about who won the Super Bowl last night. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, coincidence? I don't know. Things always seem to line up. Lion, Trina. The Lions didn't go to the Super Bowl last night. It was the Rams. The Rams won. Marduk's rule is called the ruling or the age of the ram. Yep, Aries, right? I know. I'm an Aries baby. Ram. Okay, y'all. So, chapter 21 of My Big Toe, and we paused on page 156. It will be important to maintain solidity and balance as the cultural ground shifts and shakes beneath you. It is also important to filter out the truth from the inedible cacophony of conflicting concepts to which everyone is about to be exposed in the coming cultural implosion, a spin-off of the information computer networking revolution. To achieve the most efficient personal evolution and growth, you must find an optimal synthesis. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. Hold on. You was going to say the bull. Hold on. Enlil was the bull. Inky was the lion. Marduk was the ram. I'm sorry, I had to adjust this. My cord was on my laptop, and I keep shaking it. Okay. Global African Shalom. What book am I reading from? Well, we just finished reading the tablets from the Lost Book of Enki. I'm not sure how long you've been here, how many days, but we read this simply because in my studies I found out that there's a lot of stuff from our Holy Bible that seems to have been derived from this more ancient text. And this is actually a translation of some ancient Sumerian texts that are probably the oldest texts. And they were written in cuneiform, right? But they translated this. It's like 5,000 years older than any translations of the Bible or the Hebrew. And Hebrew is not like, although Hebrew is an ancient language, Hebrew is derived from a Sumerian language. I found that out. It's crazy. So that's why we read this. And we found out as we were reading this, a lot of the stories that we find in the Bible, especially in the Torah, the Old Testament, it has been taken from more ancient texts, the Sumerian text. And that's what this is. The Lost Book of Enki is the English translation of those Sumerian texts. And it's 14 tablets. And so we were just sitting here going through. It's like, okay, so if they tell us the Sumerian texts are myths and legends, what do we do now about the Holy Bible? Because we can clearly see that a lot of these stories from starting at Genesis, the very first chapter, have been taken from these more ancient Sumerian texts, literally almost word for word. And they simply changed the names, right? So we just putting everything out on the table. We separating truth from error, because if you say this is not true, but this is true, that leaves us with a little bit of imbalance, because if we now find that this has been taken from what you said is a myth, we got problems, right? And that's what we're trying to figure out. Okay. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Let me go back up. To achieve the most efficient personal evolution and growth, you must find an optimal synthesis of the available concepts and then add to or customize this information to suit yourself. Having a correct and comprehensive big toe has never been more timely or more important to your future growth than it is right now at the dawn of the information age. Okay. And I should have told you about this one too. So this book that we're reading is My Big Toe. Okay, so let me kind of go back just a little bit since you say you've been here for 2 days. Okay, so when we started reading about 4 years ago, we were reading through the Torah. Just give you like a quick overview of what has transpired over the last 4 years since we've been here live every day with everybody. Okay, so we started out reading the Torah, simply the Torah just by itself, because we had been so inundated with the New Testament, Grand Rising, Magnesium. So we have been so inundated with the New Testament. Everybody knows what the New Testament is, what it says, and all that, right? But I went through a time period where Yah was leading me. He said, spend time in the Old Testament, spend time there. So that's what I began to do a few years before I started doing this live in November 2018. So for like since 2013, I had been reading through the Old Testament and reading through the Old Testament over and over and over. And when I get to the end of it, he says, start again. And I read it over and over. And then I get to Malachi and start it over again. But the more I began to read it, things began to pop out to me. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then I began to flip over to the New Testament and going back to those proof texts that you normally get. Oh, well, Jesus was foretold back here in the Old Testament. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a lie, because the translation or the understanding or the fulfillment of that particular prophecy actually still happened back here in the Old Testament. Every single time they called it out, you know. So those things began to, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on? We trying to bring some balance here. So we just began to read. I was like, okay, if you guys want to study buddy, if you don't have the time to read through it, I'm gonna just come up here and I'm gonna read the Old Testament out loud. You can join in if you want. You don't have to, right? So we began to read through it over and over again, and we began to make connections, and we began to verify, yes, this did say this in the New Testament, but no, this is not what it actually says in the Old Testament. So that's wrong. That's a proof text, and that is a wrong interpretation of this, right? So we went through that, and then we started adding a second book after we finished reading the Torah during the day. I kind of called it like a complementary text, and the first complementary text we started adding was the Apocrypha. So we'd read a portion from the Torah, you know, and then after we got done, I found the extended part of whatever we read inside the Apocrypha, like Jubilees, Jasher, the Book of Enoch. And so we'll read a portion of the Torah, and then we eventually actually added the Apocrypha and started filling in the missing pieces, because the Bible is just like a summary text. It's like the Cliff Notes of bigger story. Trina, I saw your comment. Yes. That's what we get. Hold on. I'm going to talk to you about that. Okay. So we began to see pieces of a bigger puzzle, right? Hence why we got started reading My Big Toe. So during this time, while we were reading the Apocrypha and some of these extra biblical books that they said they didn't combine with the Bible or they didn't canonize with the Bible, they said it wasn't authorized. It was like, okay, well, who said it wasn't authorized? Because clearly it's a part of this story, and this has been taken from this. So nobody's giving you the authority to authorize or not authorize anything. We're going to read it to understand the bigger story, because if you're missing pieces, you're led to believe something else, and we tired of being led astray. So all the missing pieces we can gather, and we added it to the bigger story, which causes our theory or our big toe to grow. My Big Toe, or TOE, stands for Theory of Everything. My Big Theory of Everything. So when you hear us talking about big toe, that's what we're talking about. Our perception and our understanding of the world around us based on the current information we have, right? And so we realized while in the church, our big toe was extremely small. We didn't have a lot of information except for what they've regurgitated and spit to us from the pulpit. And we're sick of it. So we decided to step out on our own and go gather some of this other information. And we realized information that they told us to stay away from. They put scary names on them, called it the occult, witchcraft and stuff. Some of us decided to start going to look at some of this stuff first. Before looking, it's like, Father, okay, keep me safe, because I don't want to get demon possessed. They said it was occultic, but I feel like I'm being drawn to it. There's something in there we might need. And come to find out, it's not occultic as they say, or what they teach you occultic is. Occultic simply means hidden information. But the way that they marry pictures with words in a church, it makes you think occultic, oh my gosh, a demon face, Satan worshiping, and that's not what it is. It simply means it's been hidden from you. Because if you take some of the information you get from the church, all the emotion and the spirit part that you get and they got down pat, but when you begin to take that spirit that you have over here and marry it with the truth, now you can really begin to worship the Creator and feel good about asking questions. You don't have to be quiet and not ask questions because somebody in the church told you not to. Don't question God and all this stuff, right? No. Children ask questions. We need to know, because if we don't ask, we won't know, right? So we're in the fact-finding stages, right? We're gathering information. Father, what is is this? Clearly, we haven't been taught about this. So this time, when we got done reading Genesis, we were going to go through the entire Torah again for the 4th time. When we finished reading Genesis this time, I had gathered so much information and had started looking into this ancient Sumerian text. I was like, y'all, we have to read this. It's like expanding more on the Genesis story, even going through out a little bit of Exodus. So that fills in a lot of places. It helped us see that some of these older ancient Sumerian texts were used as foundations for the Holy Bible. So now we're trying to figure out whose Torah is it really, right? And and we want to make sure that we're actually worshiping the one true creator, which the ancient Sumerians, or the Annunaki, they call them Annunaki, simply means those who came from heaven, right? Those from above who came to earth. So we're trying to figure out, okay, we want to make sure that we're worshiping the creator of all, which is what the Anunnaki call. They themselves made themselves gods to the creation they created here on earth. So what we found out is in the Holy Bible, some of these gods, and even going through, that seems to line up with the ancient Sumerian text, but the gods and God that they were calling on wasn't the creator of all, which is what the Anunnaki called the creator of all, whom we refer to as Yah, right? We say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But now we got to kind of look at that particular term, because it looks like the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was Inky, according to the more ancient text. And Inky, the Anunnaki, referred to the creator of all, which is who we're trying to get to and make sure that is we stay on track with that. They call him the creator of all, the cosmic being. He created everything that exists, even us, the Anunnaki, right? So that's where we're at today. So we're adjusting our readings to enlarge our big toe, our understanding of everything, just to make sure we're on track. And we realize there are a lot of different pieces of truth that have been hidden in different cultures and different religions, and we're just trying to bring all of that together. So that's where we are today, year 4, Valentine's Day in 2022. We started together November 18th, 2018. So that's kind of the summary of where we at today. Back to my big toe. You're welcome. Okay. Having a correct and comprehensive big toe has never been more timely or more important to your future growth than it is right now at the dawn of the information age. That some individuals refuse to make any effort to explore subjective truth says something about those individuals and the limiting power of their belief systems. Oh, I forgot to add in something really important, which is the next step we're building on, Global African. In this book, My Big Toe, if you've come out of the church, or because I come out of the church, I refer to the church a lot because of the experiences that we've had with spiritual gifts and different things like that, and developing our spiritual gifts. And those of us who have the gifts of dreaming, we've experienced out-of-body experiences. We don't really get a lot of information from the church, the teachers and stuff. They just give you more spiritual stuff on top of spiritual stuff. And it's just like, you got to do this process, woogie boogie, and it'll happen. And it's not really like that, right? So we found out that also by reading My Big Toe, they actually talk about out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, and the church, astral projection. But the church uses the term seeing in the spirit. They still use out-of-body experiences like the same on both sides. Whether they call it New Age, they call like astral projection and remote viewing. They call those New Age terms, but y'all using them too. You just call them something else. You call it seeing in the spirit. You call it open visions. We all talking about the same thing here. Don't try and spook me out. Teach me what this really is, right? So this gives really good detail. It teaches you how to pay attention to what's happening to you and your surroundings. And I found that the more I understand, the better I really can communicate with Yah. And what's even more amazing is I hear so much clearer from him than I've ever heard in my life. Like I can ask a question and literally almost immediately get the answer, so it's, it's amazing. Magnesium. So, should we worship and praise Inky also since he created us is the question. Now, I wouldn't necessarily go that far. Now, but I get the theory in it. I really do, because essentially that's what you've been doing ignorantly anyway, right? If you don't understand. But if you got to the point where we at, now we know, okay, so maybe this was destined by the creator of all. Even those ones, the Anunnaki who created, they said we're your God. We created you, right? We are. It was 3 of them. Matter of fact, 4, because Inky's wife, they used her on the back end as they was developing them a little bit more. So you can say it was 4 of them involved in the actual creation and developing of the earthlings, right? So technically, people could, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. See, because we're going to get into worship as well, right? And what I understand at this point, and this might sound blasphemy, but I'm telling y'all big toe is growing. It's going to grow, and you're going to run into it. Now, what we understand about worship is off still a little bit, because I can see how it's needed, right? Hear me out. I can see how worship is needed while you're growing. Just like children, when they're born, they rely on mom and dad when they come out the womb up until the time where Bella, you got to turn it down a little bit. Up until the time they become independent. And the more they grow, the more they know, the more the more they can be independent and do things on their own, and not less dependent, but less dependent on mom and dad or their caretakers or their guardian, whatever you want to call them, because they're learning how to do things for themselves. What I'm understanding about worship is like how we're taught to worship in the church. That's literally like infant stage of understanding. We crying out to mama and dad. Mom and dad, we need this, and thank you so much. Think about children when they get some. Oh my gosh, thank you, mom. I love you so much. Right? So that's like the baby understanding of worship, and we get all them feel goods and filled up in the spirit and all this stuff. But as you begin to grow spiritually, your oohs and ahs are a little bit different, right? Because now you're searching for understanding and wisdom, and it hits you down in your sha-na-na. If you hear me say sha-na-na, that's my word for spirit. Down in your spirit. It hits you a little bit differently, and you begin to appreciate the wisdom and understanding that comes to you. And yeah, sometimes we may break out in a little praise, and that's okay, right? But worship, as I'm beginning to understand it, it's not different. I think it's a more mature understanding of worship, right? So, but let me see. As we begin to understand who the creator of all is, he's not really getting any joy. Let me just put it in my words. He's not really getting any joy from us doing all these, patting all these praise breaks and singing him songs. He's not really getting any kind of joy from that. His joy comes in seeing you develop, and not so much always hollering and crying out to him and asking him for things, when everything that he has given us and everything that we need, he has put it on the inside of us, and we have to develop it, right? So all these, not saying that you shouldn't pray in the spirit and all this stuff, because I still do. It's needed. It's needful for your growth and for your understanding, to help you focus. He takes joy in us growing up and becoming mature. And like in the New Testament, I think it's I forget. I want to say it's 3 John. I might be wrong, but I think it's 3 John. It says, well, who is it? I want to say it was I be screwing up the name, but anyway, he said, there is no joy greater than knowing that my children are growing, right? And that, though, I just kind of summed that up, but it's in 3 John. I'm gonna post it because I didn't just screw that all up. But his joy doesn't come from us crying and praising and worshiping him and laying out all the time, because those are like baby steps, right? It's like, come on, get up. Like even when We can look at some of the instances when Israel got themselves in trouble in the wilderness. You know, he's like, what are you crying for? Why are you crying out to me? Get the people up, get them moving, tell them to do this. Stop all that. Just get moving, right? It's that same thing. So as we get more information, understand who the creator of all truly is, a lot of these childish ways we can kind of cut out. Not saying that we'll never pray to him or ask some questions, because we will. We absolutely will. You know, yes. If you go in the community section, somebody asked for a reading list a few months back. You gonna have to scroll back. It was late. I think it was November. I want to say, because I think it was Joy that asked. Joy or Audrey. Go back, I want to say, scroll back in the community section back to like November, and you will see the book list. But I will update it, because we've clearly updated more books since that book list. So in the next couple of days, if you go to the community section, you will see it post. So yeah, I gotta add these last couple that we've added to the list, and the ones that I've recommended as well, right? So but yeah, so our understanding of worship has to develop. Yeah, Alicia said, develop who we are. Hold on. And I can see that as a parent. Yes, I love when my kids hug and tell me that they love me, but I get so much joy as they grow. When Jordan learned to read, I was overjoyed. I know, right? It's like that same thing with us. So if we constantly stay here crying, worshiping, always praying and asking for stuff, I mean, that's cool if you don't know how to get it. But there comes a time, it's like, wait a minute, what y'all doing down there? Ain't nobody taught you how to do this yet. You ain't even asked. You feel content just constantly coming to my door, right? I ain't answering you now, because it's high time that you learn to get on out here and do it yourself. Just like when the kids get older, they want to, if they still staying with you, they want to loaf around or play games out there. You better get your tail out here and get a job. No, don't ask me for nothing. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You get all your health insurance. Get out there. It's the same way with y'all. If we steady in this place, we crying out, Father, please help. I need this. They messing with me. Just kill them. You know, all this kind of craziness, it does is aggravating. And y'all wants us to not necessarily stop depending on him, but to learn from him and grow and get it done yourself, right? We are... Earth, I say it all the time, Earth is a training ground for the gods. Earth is a training ground for the spirits. You are not your body. You are a spirit that uses this vehicle of a body in this realm to learn and grow. Develop your spirit. We are spirits living in a body, having a human experience, because this is the best way in this realm. Being trapped inside this tomb of this mummy is the best way for our spirits to develop and grow. It's just like learning how to ride a bike, learning how to drive a car. And when you do it and you learn about the unseen realm and the rules of the unseen realm and how it operates, you too then begin to develop, and this body can begin to do some amazing things. You can decide to park this body, and while you sleep, you go meditate, and you can actually leave your body for a few moments, go park it and leave and go get some information, travel the world. And that's kind of where the point we're at now, as we're learning about what be happening when we have these sporadic out-of-body experiences. Oh my gosh, I just saw it. What is that? How is that happening? Why does this happen? Does it only happen for a certain set of people? Does this happen to all people? How do you control it? It seems like this happens when I do this or when I do that. So it's like, okay, we're at another level of growth. We need some help. What's going on? Am I crazy? Am I losing my mind? But I know I'm not losing my mind, because I can clearly tell you what happened. And I think this is a way. This book, My Big Toe, is a really good teacher on that level. What the church calls spiritual gifts. This will help you understand what's really happening to you. And you're not crazy. And it's not just one group of people that can do this. If you're here, if you're a spirit and you have a body, these same rules apply to you. Don't matter if you're black, white, Chinese, Hispanic, whatever your ethnicity is, you are a spirit who has a body. Your design, or not your design, the color of your car might be a little bit different. Like we see the different color cars and stuff, or different makes and models, and makes and models for human beings would be like African, Chinese, the ethnicities. It's still the same thing, but they operate the same way, right? So we can learn a lot of spiritual things by paying attention to some things in the natural. So when you hear us talking about like the remote viewing of meditation and stuff, that's kind of where we've graduated to at this point. And the resources that I'm sharing now is helping us understand and develop our own spiritual gifts within ourselves. And we're sharing our experiences. I share what happened to me. Y'all can share what happened to y'all. You can put it in the comment section. You can send me an email. The email is in everything. So, you know, we're here helping each other grow, one another. All right, so that's why we're here, and this is a trilogy. But once we get finished with this first part, I said we was going to read the meditation book that I found. It's a ancient Egypt meditation book, but I think it's really good. It'll kind of not necessarily give us a break from all the science, but it gives us a different view, a different vantage point of looking at meditation. But then after we finish that, we're going to come right back to the second book of this, and it gives us time, especially if you're using the meditations that's in there. It gives you time to actually develop and have some experience on your own, so you can begin to understand and go another level, because you can't grow unless you got personal experience, unless you have lab time. Just like in chemistry science class, you can sit there, listen to the teacher talk, but now it's lab time. Let's put into practice what we've learned. We'll know if you really understand it by the outcome of your science experiment, right? So we need real life experiences to help us grow. So I think that's the final point that I needed to make. And that's how we're here today. And while we are reading through my big toe, along with some of the more ancient scriptures that have been translated and put in book form, you know. So don't think we've gone off the beaten path, not reading a scripture, because our scripture clearly came from this. But it's just not put in a leather-bound book. It's in a regular paperback book or a hardback copy, whatever. But the scriptures are still found within here. So we found out. And the next one that we're actually starting to read tomorrow is it's more of the different tablets, but it's called the Complete Anunnaki Bible. So you will, as we start reading through that, you will see some of the other places in scripture where things have been taken from this more ancient cuneiform Sumerian text. Right. So that's where we at. Okay. Having a correct and comprehensive big toe has never been more timely or more important to your future growth than it is right now at the dawn of the information age. That some individuals refuse to make any effort to explore subjective truth. All right, babe. That some individuals refuse to make any effort to explore subjective truth says something about those individuals and the limiting power of their belief systems. Is Jeremiah with you? Is Jeremiah going with you? No. Okay. All right. Those who seriously take up the challenge of exploring reality and growing their awareness rarely come home empty-headed. They inevitably find a greater reality beyond objective physical matter reality, and it is almost always worth far more to them than a considerable effort required to access it. Again, the proof of the usefulness and quality of any pudding you cook up is in the tasting, evaluating, experiencing, and sharing the results of that particular batch of pudding. You can start anywhere. Be skeptical, be open-minded, and demand measurable, objective results after a reasonable effort. If there are no obvious, measurable results, try a different recipe. Assess the results. Adjust the recipe and go make some more. Slightly better pudding. Repeat the cycle continually. Before long, you will be winning prizes at the county fair for the quality of your consciousness. Hold on, I think I missed somebody's question. Hold on. I just wanted to go back up. I just thought about it. I meant to go back up before I started reading again. Hold on. Shushan, shalom, shalom. Okay. Yeah, Audrey. Everything comes from a more ancient text. Okay. All right, I was just checking. Okay. Before long, you will be winning prizes at the county fair for the quality of your consciousness. It is important to be aware of how your cultural biases and beliefs can severely limit the scope, breadth, depth, and quality of the thoughts you are able to think, as well as the size of the picture you are able to comprehend. The struggle to reach beyond a belief-limited perspective is usually immensely difficult and only determined and serious explorers doggedly pursuing the truth down whatever path it takes are likely to be successful. Tootie, turn it down a little bit. You set it down and walked away. What you trying to get? Yeah, ain't nothing in there. Come turn it down.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
Well, can you talk to me while you go turn it down, or I'm going to cut it off? Thank you. Okay, thank you. The struggle to reach beyond a belief-limited perspective is usually immensely difficult, and only determined and serious explorers doggedly pursuing the truth down whatever path it takes are likely to be successful. Unlikely, the blindfold of limiting belief that we all wear feels so natural and fits so well, or blocks out everything except those ideas and opinions that are obviously correct, deeply ingrained and widely held, that we are not aware of it. If it is pointed out to us, we, as a fearful people, needing to maintain the illusions by which we define ourselves and place in the world, we have an innate tendency to deny that any such blindfold exists, right? Especially those caught deep in religion. We don't even realize that the blindfold is over our own eyes. A belief that physical matter reality is all there is extremely limiting and makes some very important and interesting questions absolutely impossible to answer without invoking additional limiting belief systems. The argument between science and belief, a more general version of the argument between science and religion, is a self-energizing, endless loop of non-logic bouncing uselessly in endless debate back and forth from one limiting belief to another. The illogical excess of each create the rational necessity for the other. These arguments violate the rule of rationality by forming a perpetual wasted motion machine within a logical black hole. Campbell's third law of no motion, otherwise known as the law of inaction-reaction, accurately describes these arguments. For every irrational rationalization, there exists an equal but opposite irrational rationalization. Certainly, most religions do not believe that PMR, physical matter reality, remember physical matter reality is us here in this realm. Non-physical matter reality is what we call the spiritual realm, okay? Certainly, most religions do not believe that physical matter reality is all there is, and religion, as well as science, is a significant part of our cultural heritage. Nonetheless, the organization and codification of mysticism into various religious doctrines and dogmas is of little value. That we as a culture permit a limited and narrowly focused mysticism, various religious dogmas, to coexist and blend with our scientific dogma serves only to confuse, distort, and restrict our ability to deal with the real issue of consciousness quality. Science and religion, each in their own way, preach the gospel of hope and promise deliverance to the promised land of good and plenty. However, as a general rule, neither provides a significant boost to the inner quality of an individual's life. The quality of your consciousness must grow as an independently evolving entity in the shadow of both. Consciousness quality is a personal achievement that can only be developed by an individual Consciousness quality is a personal achievement that can only be developed by an individual. It is not a group endeavor. Although we're here as a group, you're going to get to taste the pudding in your own individual life as you begin to apply what we're learning here together as a group. If you don't take the time to individually grow after we depart as a group, like people going to church all the time, whatever you do in your private time will begin to show outwardly. So if you're just coming to church or just coming to the group discussions and stuff, but you don't actually begin to practice what you're learning, your growth will be stunted, right? And there will be no growth. And you're going to constantly have questions. You're going to constantly you're going to be, not that you shouldn't ask questions, because you should, but your questions shouldn't always be the same. If your questions are the same, we can tell that you're not growing. Hey, we passed that mark last year. Why are you still asking those questions? Are you not doing the homework? The homework or your personal individual study, life, experiment, tasting the pudding at home will help you develop when we are apart. And we just coming together to share what we've learned and continue our growth and just to add to one another and take it up another level, right? The quality of your consciousness must grow as an independently evolving entity in the shadow of both. Consciousness quality is a personal achievement that can only be developed by an individual. It is not a group endeavor. It has absolutely nothing to do with creed, dogma, or belief. An individual's quality cannot be increased one single iota by any belief, or by accumulating information about anything, or by doing good deeds that are not properly motivated, or by talking to others or reading books. Again, I seek your indulgence. As horses must remain in front of carts, logical progression must take the time to develop their logical one step at a time. I'm sorry. It's logic, not logical. Let me read the whole sentence again. Again, I seek your indulgence. As horses must remain in front of carts, logical progressions must take the time to develop their logic one step at a time. The concept of consciousness quality and its relationship to spiritual quality will firm up later when it is more precisely described and given a technical definition. In the meantime, let me say this. Spiritual growth, personal growth, improving the quality of your consciousness, evolving your being, increasing your capacity to love, and decreasing the entropy of your consciousness are all essentially synonymous and equivalent. Many readers have a good idea, or at least think they do, about what these terms mean, but there are some who are not sure at all, and some of those are now becoming a little worried. This is as it should be. Properly skeptical minds need logical clarity. Establishing logical scientific connections that interrelate physics, spirituality, consciousness, and love is not as goofy or impossible as it appears. In fact, it is something that a comprehensive big toe must necessarily accomplish. Hang in there with me. These ideas are more logical and more rational than you might guess. Do not misunderstand me. I am not denigrating the potential spiritual quality that can be found within religion by individual seekers of truth. When I use the word religion here, I am speaking only of institutionalized dogma or organized religion, which represents how the great majority of people are connected to religion. There are individuals and organizations that flourish outside of this generality, and it is highly likely that you count yourself and your associations to be among them. It is not a simple fact that other people are usually the ones who don't get it, and that the phrase great majority of people usually does not include you. Do you not find it logically intriguing that the great majority of people feel rather strongly that they cannot be grouped with the great majority of people? We humans are generally as aware of our individuality as we are blind to our conformity. That is our nature. The unquestionable truth of the bold sentence above should give other people a logical loophole big enough to squeeze through in order to get back into their personal comfort zone. Lex G, Divine Rising. Really? Your old man put me on my channel? Bless y'all. Thanks. Okay. There are Those few who, after subtracting organization, socialization, status, tradition, habit, dogma, creed, ritual, and belief from their religion, still have something left over that is very significant. For these people, religion is a personal spiritual experience that enables them to evolve the quality of their consciousness as effectively as any other spiritual path. That they choose to integrate this honest spiritual experience within some traditional religious setting merely represents the individual path they have chosen. There is no intrinsic benefit or penalty in doing so. All paths have benefits and challenges. Contrary to popular belief, I do not condemn belief in dogma as useless and harmful merely because they are illogical and unnecessary. Much of what we do every day, particularly our habitual activities, is illogical and unnecessary. Inefficiency is not a crime. If it were, we would all be in jail. Condemnation typically flows from arrogance and is not likely to be a part of a helpful process, nor is it likely to be a good technique for fostering understanding or improving communication. This trilogy is about being helpful, improving understanding, and reducing ego and arrogance. Be careful not to jump to conclusions. I welcome you to walk your dogma in my neighborhood as long as you clean up after it and keep it under control. Don't let it bite, harass, or intimidate anyone. Make sure it does not dig in our gardens, kill our flowers, bushes, or children, or leave piles of poop in our yards. Finally, do not allow it to terrorize or bully the many vulnerable critters and beings that peacefully live and play in the surrounding environment. If you are a responsible owner of a friendly dogma, you and your dogma are welcome in my neighborhood anytime. Yo, that is so good. I'm going to repost that. I'm going to reread it. I should put that in our about to section. That's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to update my about section on the Facebook page and the on YouTube. When you click on the about, I'm going to put this. Be careful not to jump to conclusions. I welcome you to walk your dogma in my neighborhood as long as you clean up after it and keep it under control. Don't let it bite, harass, or intimidate anyone. Make sure it does not dig in our gardens, kill our flowers, bushes, or children, or leave piles of poop in our yards. Finally, do not allow it to terrorize or bully the many vulnerable critters and beings that peacefully live and play in the surrounding environment. If you are a responsible owner of a friendly dogma, you and your dogma are welcome in my neighborhood anytime, right? And that can be kind of broken down because people who come, some people come and stay, some people just pass through. But I noticed from the questions and the emails that it's not just the church. It's a lot of the church that pass through my channel, but it's also a lot of Hebrew roots people that pass through my channel, and it's people from other religions that have passed through and that have asked me private questions and stuff, right? And so they're all coming into my atmosphere, my house, with their different religious dogmas and stuff that they're trying to break out of because they're like, something ain't right, I'm missing, and they go searching and my channel just happens to pop up, right? And so that's what we kind of liken this as. It's a, we got people from all different walks of life all over the world. We got people from Europe, Africa, South America. I got a lot of people from Jamaica, but that's on the Facebook channel. I noticed a lot because I look at the analytics and stuff, and I was shocked that there's a lot of people from Jamaica. I'm like, I didn't even know that y'all got to use the internet. That was a little bit of a joke, but I'm able to look at the analytics and the different things, right? And there's an even mix of men and women, no matter the ethnicity. The viewers from my channel are half and half, right? Half men and half women. And that completely blew me away. I learned something from one of my pastors while I was still in church. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I learned how to look at balance. If you have more men in a church than women, there's an imbalance somewhere. If there's more women, if it's not like a men's meeting or a women's meeting, if it's like the regular meetings, if there's a imbalance of the sexes, there's an imbalance somewhere in the teaching, right? And it should be good for all, unless you're like specialization for like the women or the men, then clearly it'll be more women there, right? But I learned to look at the analytics, so I'm like, okay, so people are definitely searching for truth. I'm like, y'all help me. I'm just going to be transparent with my life and share with them what I'm learning, and it seems to be helpful. And I really appreciate you guys sharing your stories with me and your input and all that stuff. And if I'm doing something wrong, or you like, well, wait a minute, double check that, I will go double check myself. I ain't too proud to say I'm sorry. I done screwed up on that one. Let's retract that statement. This is wrong, y'all. So, but yeah. I got into all of that because of this little section right here about the dogma. You're welcome to walk your dogma in my neighborhood at any time. I'm a very peaceful person, but if your dogma gets off the leash, I expect you to catch it real quick. Don't let it come here terrorizing nobody, because you'll find yourself getting... I got my watchers, the ones with the wrenches. Get that dog out of here. No disrespect. Get that dogma out of here. Right? Okay. And actually, we're almost done. We have like a half a page left. It is possible, though exceedingly unusual, for an individual to lose ego and gain consciousness quality in pursuit of a favorite dogma. For most of us, dogma erects barriers on our path to personal growth, distracts us from what is truly important, confuses our senses of what is right and wrong, arbitrarily limits our reality by snagging us into belief traps, and tends to make us more egocentric, arrogant, and self-righteous. We readily embrace dogma because it soothes our fearful ignorance with a comforting salve of easy-to-attain pseudo-knowledge, and because its downside always falls outside our awareness. However, there are a few who outwardly appear to be in pursuit of dogma because their habits of ritual and association, yet inwardly they have grown beyond its limitations. For these individuals, the dogma, along with any associated ritual, becomes a familiar pattern of doing that is similar in function to a meditation mantra. And he has this little short aside where he goes on to explain this. Offering either science or religion to one in dire need, as is everyone, of internal substance, is like giving a starving person a rubber chicken. It looks good and he immediately feels better. Now filled with hope and confidence, he chews and chews and chews, but continues to get thinner and thinner all the same. If his preoccupation with and his belief in the nutritional value of the rubber chicken prevents him from procuring real food, the situation becomes worse. Linda, morning. That some real food may be securely hidden within the rubber chicken only makes the situation more pathetic. He can smell it, but doesn't know how to get access to it. The hungrier the man gets, the more he becomes fixated on the rubber chicken, and the less capable he is of eventually figuring out the puzzle. He eventually dies of starvation, forever grateful to the great benevolence. I'm getting tongue-tied. Hold on. He eventually dies of starvation, forever grateful to the great benevolence that provided him the precious gift of hope in the form of a wonderful rubber chicken. Ain't that crazy? You just thankful for the hope, but you didn't fill your belly yet and you died. So what was the point of all that? You just wasted time. That hope was foolishness, right? We are, it seems, like the citizens of Flatland. Did y'all go get that book yet? I didn't open it back up, but that was one of the references. I gave the link for it, right? So if you read Flatland within the last couple of days, you'll probably get what the citizens are like there. Okay. We are, it seems, like the citizens of Flatland, imaginary inhabitants of a two-dimensional reality who cannot understand the connection between solid geometry and their stomachs. They had to go inside through themselves to begin what was, for them, a mystical and metaphysical journey toward an understanding of the third dimension. We need to make a similar journey to understand the larger reality. They had to transcend their beliefs, which were born out of their objective experience within their local reality and limited causal system. We need to do the same. They found the reality of the third dimension through subjective experience combined with careful scientific reasoning, not by dedication to dogma, old or new religious, cultural, scientific, or personal. We need to do the same. Some things cannot be comprehended from, or conversely translated to, the perspective with which we beings, seemingly trapped in this physical matter reality, have to work. If this journey to understand reality appears mystical and metaphysical to us, that is an artifact of our perceptual limitations and small space-time perspective, not a condemnation of the realness of our vision. Solid geometry and the third dimension are real, even though they exist beyond the comprehension of belief-limited flatlanders stuck in their logical, objective causality. Our ignorance does not impose limits on the larger reality, only upon our understanding of it. And that, my beautiful people, is the reading for today. That was good. I'm going to read that again. Our ignorance does not impose limits on the larger reality, only upon our understanding of it. Whew. That's a whole sermon in itself. All right, beautiful people. So that is our reading for today. Tomorrow we will start chapter 22, which is entitled The Right Attitude and My Big Toe. Also, did I take it upstairs? I took it upstairs because I was reading through it. The Anunnaki Bible. We're going to start that tomorrow with the introduction. The preface, remember, we always read through all the preface and all the introductions. So we're going to be in that for a couple days till we actually get to the first tablet, in tablet A, which is it almost seems like a continuation to give more details of what we learned here, right? And then it's going to go through a lot of different stuff. So, but remember I said, like, when we just read through Inky, we did a tablet a day. We're not going to do that with the Anunnaki Bible because those tablets are extremely longer. And because I'm trying to stay within our hour time limit, we're going to read 30 minutes from those tablets. And then we're going to do the other 30 minutes, the remaining 30 minutes from My Big Toe or whatever else companion book we're reading to help us understand the overall big picture. But also within those readings, the time will probably be adjusted based on some of my experiences that I've had along the way, some funny stories I decide to include, right? Shenanigans from the family, those times can and will be adjusted, right? So if you're trying to stay in that solid group, listen, these videos are always recorded. If it's during the week and you don't work for yourself and you don't create your own schedule and you are accountable to somebody else, get out of here. Don't blame me because you late. Don't get in trouble for looking at this while you're supposed to be working. Now, if you can whistle while you work and your boss don't mind, then okay, right? But don't use us as an excuse to lie to your boss or be late to work or whatever, right? We record it. Come back when you on your own time, not on the man's dime. I work for myself, so we can adjust our hours. All right, beautiful people. Okay, so anybody do any more of the who I gotta call my husband? Okay, I gotta help him finish this. I ain't trying to kick y'all off. Oh my gosh, we've been waiting for this. Okay, let me bring my thoughts back. Okay, all right, I'm super excited. Hold on, y'all. Bring myself back. Okay. So did y'all, you welcome, Shushan, Malki, Yahoo, Ben Yasharala, Barakatha. So did y'all go back and do any more of the Monroe Institute, like you get through any of the other waves yet? Okay, so the other day I told y'all what happened when I went through the third and the fourth wave. So yesterday I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this during daytime hours, right? So while we was waiting for the Super Bowl to come on, I told my husband, I said, look, babe, I'm about to do a meditation section, right? Just, just kind of watch out for me. I'm testing the difference from the day meditation from the night meditations that I've been doing. Because we got so much going on and I got to do so much during the day with homeschooling the kids and running the business, doing this part. Sometimes I don't get the break. Even like when we break for them to eat lunch or whatever, I'm always doing something. So it's easier for me to just do it at night, right? Because my husband is working out in the field and I can do my stuff remotely from here, whether we go to the office or what have you. So, but since my husband was here, I was like, you mind me about 30 minutes, possibly an hour. I want to just go through here. So, okay. So he kind of kept the kids at bay. And so what I did, if you go back to, I think it was yesterday's video, the day before, it could have been, I think it was, yesterday's video, when I explained what happened when I went through track 3 and woke up at the end of track 4, I decided to do those over again. And I was completely awoke. It was a little bit different because I wasn't tired and I didn't go to sleep, but I could feel my body go into that deep meditation state. I was like, oh, there is a difference. There's a difference, but it's still a nice, restful place to be. But both times I'm fully alert, fully conscious, to whereas if you're doing it at night and you've been running all day and your body is really tired, you're going to probably fall asleep during the meditation and you may not retain what you learned during this time. So I was able to retain everything. And even though I did the same meditation over, I didn't get all that major excitement that I did that night before that I experienced this. But there was something absolutely amazing that happened this time because I was completely awake. My body, I could feel my body just resting. I felt it get a little heavy, but I was completely conscious and I was sharp. But what I missed because I had fallen asleep the night before doing the meditation, so I experienced something different. There was clarity, and I didn't realize that when you get to wave 4 is like this. To me, it's like a healing wave, right? Well, the track is wave 1, but track 4, there was a lot of healing in that for me, right? And it actually gets into fears. And if y'all haven't even gotten to 4 yet, out in wave 1, track 4, you got to at least make it to that one, because if you can make it to that one, you will be able to get further. It has you deal with some of your ingrained fears and everything. And we talked about the box where when you're about to go into meditation, he tells you take all your worries and your cares, everything. He said, just put it in this box, right? And I kind of explained my box. Jen made mention of her box. She said her box was a shipment container. So we talked about that a little bit. What he has you do in track 4 is to go back and visit this box, right? And all those fears. And so when you first start, it's like, everything, my scariness, all my demonic teaching that the church teach me, this is demon, they take all of this because it kind of gets a little scary when you're trying to develop your spiritual gifts. Like, I know one of my spiritual gifts is dreaming. It has been ever since I was born into this world. I have all kind of dreams and they come true. I can see into the spirit. I can hear in the spirit. And it's like, how do I develop this? Because it seems like it's happening randomly, but it's happening more. And when I came out of church, it began to ramp up. I'm like, okay, what is happening? How do I deal with this? And I was read through all the Christian books, but it just gave me more spirituality on top of spirituality, not really explaining and answering the questions that I had on why is this happening to me? How is it really working? What am I supposed to do with this information that I'm getting? Clearly, I know how to use it. One is for my family. Hey, we might not want to do this. This was a dream I had. I learned how to use it in that fashion, giving my dreams to people that seem like warnings, and it will prevent catastrophes, even in our business. And when we don't listen to it, things will happen. We lose money in our business. Like, man, we really need to pay attention and really, sit y'all about what's going on, why this is happening, right? So, but what happened is, when I got to that part, it has you revisit all of those fears. He teaches you. It's like a process that you do when you begin a meditation. So it's something you just learn how to do it. So, but when you get to track 4, he said, okay, let's revisit this box, right? All your fears. He said, let's deal with the first fear. The first one that comes to mind. He said, pull that fear back out the box. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I dealt with the first fear. He said, okay. He said, now take it. He said, think about it. How did it make you feel? Why did it make you feel this way? What's the origin of this fear. Like he really has you examine your fears. Like if it's a logical fear, if it's a illogical fear, you know, if it was a whatever brought that fear on, he has you think about it, right? Pull all the emotion out of it, everything. He said, now, he said, take it. He said, and just like a balloon, he said, or bubble, he said, just take it and release it and let it float away. He said, you're not going to need that anymore. He said, I'll never bother you again. And when I did that, and he's teaching you how to imagine all this. So I imagine myself doing all of this stuff, right? And I literally, y'all, I literally felt a release when I did it. I just like, and I waved bye to it, right? And then I literally felt something in my body. It was like kind of emotional too. I'm like, man, that worked. I don't know, but I walked through the whole process in my mind. And then he had you now that after we observed it and we let that float away, he said, now, he said, let's deal with the emotion that fear left inside of you. He said, let's look at it, right? Went through the things. He said, now, he said, just like a balloon or a bubble, he said, release it, let it float away. Bye. I'm never going to see you again. And it was like it's like every time I did it, I felt something. And then he said, now, let's look at this fear. It's like 3 steps for each fear, right? And he said, now, so let's look at what's left. He said, all that situation, he said, the only thing that remains, he said, is the memory of it. He said, and it's clean energy. He said, because we remove the fears, irrational, everything bad with it. We removed all the emotions. He said, so the only thing left is the memory, and it's clean now. He said, and it's clean energy. He said, I want you to take that. He said, now take that energy and pull it back into yourself. Pull that energy, all that good energy back into yourself. I was like, whew. And that was so good. I'm like, I don't remember any of this from last night. And I'm so glad I decided to go back and do track 3 and 4 over again, because the experience was different, you know. So I do recommend, you know, if you do it, I've been doing them. I'm not just going through it just to go through all of them. I did the first one, I did it 2 nights in a row. So all of them I'm doing like at least 2 times before I move to the next one, because I want to make sure that I'm really understanding, you know, and, you know, not necessarily that you will feel anything. You may not. I did, you know, but you have to really be honest with yourself and the fears, right? I would tell you some of the fears, but I think that's a more personal thing. Everybody has their own different type of fears for whatever reason. But the exercise is about you being honest with yourself and being honest about the things that you're really afraid of, things that you're afraid to speak out of your mouth. Oh, don't say that, because if you say it, you might speak it out into the air. You got to be honest with yourself. And I thought that was so good yesterday. And when I got done with it, I went through 3 and 4. I was meditating for about an hour, going through that, walking through those exercises in my mind with them, doing it, you know, with my headphones on. And it was a really good time of meditation. And I really felt just a little bit free, a little bit lighter after I got done. I was like, whew, that was good. That was good. I'm like, thank you, y'all. That was really good. Right. Okay. So that is my sharing for that. I didn't post yesterday. I said I was going to post in the community section, tracking my days, what I'm experiencing. I didn't post it yesterday because I was debating whether I'm like, man, what if somebody see my stuff? I'm like, what if they start leaving all kind of crazy comments under there? I was like, but this is something like, this is my personal meditation time. I was like, but some people might really need to see this. So if I'm transparent like I am, I was like, you know what? Everybody got something to say. I'm going to just put it up there. If people leave some crazy comments, whatever, I'll leave it. I won't even read it. I just ignore it. Right. But I want to be transparent, just in case you're kind of scared. I'm going to leave what's happening to me. Now I may leave out I'll put my fears up there, but I'm not going to give you like the deep, intricate details of what those fears are, but I give you like a generalization of what it is. Some intimate details I want to keep to myself, right? Because there's some people out there that know how they have nefarious intentions for things, and you ain't gonna get that part of me. Matter of fact, if you try and come at me like that, you're gonna find out you're gonna run up against a really strong force field if you try to attack me spiritually. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. Keep my wards up, my G. So I was thinking about all that, and if I was going to share that, because it's like a vulnerable part, but I want to be as transparent so you can see, because we're doing it together. I'm not just sitting here talking to you, telling y'all to do it, but I'm really walking through this myself, you know. So I'm going to post that after I finish typing up my experience from yesterday, going back through track 3 and 4 from wave 1. I'll go ahead and upload it in a community section. And I think, here's what I think I do. Because it's going to keep getting pushed down in the community section, I'll keep reposting it. Yeah, because I don't know that I can like pin it to the top. I don't know. Maybe I can. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. You know, so that way you can kind of see the running, like the running results from when I first started. It's going to become a really long post, you know, so, but I'll just put update number 4, track whatever, and I have the previous results from the previous tracks that I've done in the previous ways. So it's just going to be a growing post, and it's going to be posted multiple times so you can see it fresh. Unless I can figure out how to pin it to the top, then I keep it pinned at the top for the time that we're actually going through this together, right? So all right, y'all. So with that being said, I really do think at this point you should really get involved if you haven't. If you're still kind of spooky, scary, download Mr. Monroe's trilogy book. Just like My Big Toe is a trilogy. He has a trilogy that he wrote, but it's going through from the time his paranormal out-of-body experiences, astral projecting started happening. And it's so funny. I'm already at like chapter 15 because I downloaded the Audible. It is hilarious. He's going through. I was like, oh yeah, you was just a spooky Christian scary like we was, right? Because his family would go to church, and he had been in church, but days he just didn't go. But these astral projection and these out-of-body experiences would happen to him, and he'd be scared to look in, be like the different things that would happen. Y'all just got to download it. I think if you're still scared at this point just to engage, but these things have been happening to you and you need answers, if you need a little more comfort, download his book. You can order it. They have it in paperback, Kindle, and Audible. But I like Audible because I'm doing so much and I can listen to it while I go. And I can consume the book a lot faster. I think by listening to the details of his story and going step by step from all his astral projections and remote viewing things and how he was scared to engage, and when he did engage, and he even gets to the part, I think when you get to chapter 11, he started talking about the whole church demonic talk and stuff, right? And that was pretty hilarious and things. He was like, okay, so I don't really want to open my eyes because what if it's a demon? Or I'm not sure what type of entity. I can feel the energy, all that kind of silly, crazy stuff we go through. He shares all his experience. So I think that'll get you more comfortable just listening to his experience and going through it and explaining to you what he found out it was. And it works all the way up to when he actually started the Monroe Institute, which we know Thomas Campbell was a part of when it first started, which is how he started his trilogy, because he helped Mr. Monroe with the Monroe Institute, which is really a big institute. It's actually, I just found out, it's here, right here in Virginia, like up in Northern Virginia. I'm like, yo, they're here. And I was looking at some of that stuff. I was like, I might try to visit them one day, visit their facilities, or maybe try to attend one of their little live trainings. But a lot of stuff they're doing remotely now because of the vid or whatever. But they found out by doing it this way, they found out that it's actually more efficient. You know, because people are they're able to do it from their homes, relaxed state. So they do it like via Zoom and stuff. And they have them kind of like what we're doing now, actually doing it on your own time. But they have like some things are pre-recorded. Sometimes you just show up like we do 7:15. You show up to the class to kind of go over instructions. Okay, do this. Go and do your homework. Come back and share your results with us. I was like, oh, that's pretty freaking cool, right? So if you get a chance, check out the website, Mr. Monroe's website, Monroe Institute, I think it's .com. I'll leave it. I keep forgetting to put the website in there, but you can simply Google it and it'll come up. But I'll make sure I put the website in there today. So with all that being said, beautiful people, let's go ahead and get out of here. I ain't even gonna call Bella. She upstairs. She got my iPad, and I have to call my husband. Something we've been waiting on. It's something for our business we've been waiting on for like, it's been at least 2 months now. They literally just sent the approval email for us. So yay. Hold on. Okay, so let's do the blessing. I gotta call my husband. He gonna be hollering, screaming. Okay. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce. And give me a few moments. Give me about an hour, possibly 2, before I get the links and everything uploaded into the community section and all that stuff. Go on, go to work, do what you got to do. Just come back later. It'll be posted. All right, bye, y'all.